have a good chance of winning. And so it did. Aurora Venturini was 85 years old when she won Página 12 New Novel Award. She turned up to the award ceremony with a punk attitude. She had a skinny frame with unusual features arranged into an expression set somewhere between amusement and candor. Her dark, peering eyes, meanwhile, were more like malevolent slits, declaring, "Finally, an honest jury." She had published dozens of books, was a supporter of the Peronist movement, friend of Evita, and went into exile in Paris following the coup of 1955. In France, she became friends with Violette Leduc and socialized with existentialists. Myths gathered around her, and she actively encouraged them during her lifetime. Aurora saw ghosts from a young age. She was friendly with Victoria Ocampo and Borges when she lived in Buenos Aires. When not in exile, she spent 17 years there and the rest of her life in La Plata. She was an obsessive writer and kept spiders as pets. When she fell out of bed and was taken to the hospital with broken bones, she visited hell, and after that made friends with an exorcist priest. How much of this was true wasn't remotely important, among other things because her books are so authentic. Most of them were published by independent presses or as winners of municipal prizes, and all of them are odd and obsessed with one subject in particular: family. Las Primas is a story about family and about women. It is, Aurora said, an autobiographical novel. I'm not very family-oriented, I never was, but I always end up writing about my family or families. My creations are all freaks. My family was very freakish. It's what I know. I'm not very ordinary. I'm a strange creature who only wants to write. I'm not very sociable. I only ever see people on December 24th. Las Primas is the monologue of a half-wit, but it's not full of rage, but rather bewilderment, and above all, disgust. The men of the family are absent. The male characters who do appear are abusive and ravage the bodies of vulnerable women with the indifference of petty scoundrels. The story is set in the 40s. The mother is a high-ranking primary school teacher, a prestigious role for a woman, but also one of the few available. Yuna manages to escape the house, in her mind at least, because she is a painter. She has talent and is helped by a professor who convinces her to study at art school and exhibit her work. And yet, she is forever bound to the suffering bodies of the women of the family. Her aunt, Nene, her cousins, Karina and Petra, and the mild-mannered Rufina in the darkness of a gloomy suburban house where Bettina wheels around, humming and drooling. I painted shadows, which I couldn't help because I have so many shadows inside me that when I get overwrought, I drive them out onto my paintings. That item refers to the use of a word, overwrought, that Yuna has looked up in the dictionary because she has a meager vocabulary. She writes against language, against writing conventions, getting the best she can out of her precarious oral skills. In this struggling voice, Yuna describes not just her own coming of age, but also those of the other girls, all of whom are used and neglected. The first to suffer abuse is Karina, one of the cousins. She is impregnated by a neighbor, a potato man or greengrocer, and Aunt Nene decides that she has to get an abortion. There aren't many abortions in Argentine literature, and here we're giving a vivid account of the shoddiness that comes with illegality. The doctor came, but she didn't look like one, she looked common. She asked which the patient was and how many months, and Aunt Nene answered 3 and change, and I understood why people say that children bring good luck. But Aunt Nene, who didn't eat every day for lack of money, wouldn't pardon the baby even with the change.